On this episode, the ARCH program.
You'd have to walk all night, and it's pretty scary when you're by yourself.
Welcome to Road to Hope. I'm your host, BIANCA JADE. As the temperatures continue to drop, it's hard to imagine living out on the streets. On this episode, we learn how the Royal Alexandra Hospital is making a difference to those that need it the most. Outside of the Royal Alexandra Hospital in Edmonton lies a shopping cart covered in snow. There are clothes, personal effects. Someone's entire home is in this cart. After stashing it right outside the hospital, a homeless person has made the walk to the main doors, all in hope that they will get the help they need, and that when they're done, their possessions will still be here. Inside at triage, high, with no health card, no ID of any kind, the team is tirelessly working to give them the care they desperately require. This story hits home for Annette Flamin. Just a year ago, she was going through the same motions. She was homeless and addicted to crack cocaine.
Even half of the time, the hostels were full and there was nowhere. You'd have to walk all night. And it's pretty scary when you're by yourself. You gotta be alert and see what's coming from all ends.
Here at the Royal Alex, she was referred to, as she says, her rock, a social worker named Esther, who is part of the ARCH team.
Just kind of started following up on every hospital admission when she was in emerge or when she was up in the hospital. And that's kind of how we started building that rapport with her.
You know, when you could feel whether this person, you can trust them or not. Yeah. And I felt trust there right away. Yeah, I hooked up to her right away. Yeah, she was my friend and I wouldn't talk to anybody else but her.
Being able to meet her at where she was at, and each time being able to meet her there kind of helped to build on that rapport and get her to start exploring a little bit further. And ultimately, it was her that had to make that choice.
After seeing the need, Director KATHRYN created this multifaceted harm reduction approach.
It's been very exciting to see this develop from the early stages. So now our program consists of 3 arms. We have our clinical arm, which is the Addiction Recovery and Community Health, or ARCH team. We have our research arm, which is working really hard to try and look at what is the effect of the ARCH team. And then we have our education arm, because there's been a huge thirst for knowledge at this site about what we're doing, and everyone wants to serve our population well here.
Well, we have one room in that outpatient clinic. So this is the clinic where we will see patients either after they've been discharged from the acute care setting, if they do need some follow-up to help bridge them to community care, and we will also see patients out of the emergency department here.
What we do is see patients that are in hospital that have substance abuse and addiction problems. Quite often they also have problems with housing, income, ID, pending legal matters, all kinds of things. So we try to take on a lot of that and takes that out of the hands of the admitting physicians that are seeing them for the other reason they were in hospital, which could be a variety of things.
To support the patient's journey, the physician or the nurse practitioner may need to do inpatient or outpatient care.
I think the biggest benefit a program like this offers people is continuity. For our population, I find they struggle with being disorganized. And they need more help accessing services in the community or identifying services that they don't have access to in the community.
There was a patient that I had, a young woman, sex trade worker, since she was a young girl actually. Crippling addiction to opioids and heroin, multiple pregnancies, most of her children have been apprehended, and she's on the street, and not a lot of options for her. A lot of trauma history, emotionally, physically, sexually. And you know, when we first met her and advocated for her and got her stable, and you kind of saw Mama Bear come back online, and she realized, you know, maybe if I have a chance of getting my life straight, I could start seeing my kids again and things like that. And that sticks with me, when you kind of see glimmers of the people that they were before start coming back to the surface, because a lot of it's buried and a lot of it's been gone for a long time.
These types of successes are prevalent amongst this team.
It advocates for them as well as it helps them get from one place to another, to reach small attainable goals or take small steps to eventually get to a better place or a more stable place.
In order to create a more cohesive harm reduction, they are managing the collection of data.
So if you come into the hospital and you're homeless, or you come into the hospital and you're facing poverty and unstable housing, and maybe you have problems with drugs or alcohol, we're trying to learn more about what the experience of patients is in the hospital setting. And then as we're learning about that, we're taking action to improve care.
The patients can get the care that they need and deserve, that the professionals in the hospital have the best practice possible, that everybody is working the best they can.
Continuing the education so that every single staff member at the Alex has a really rich knowledge of addiction medicine and social stabilization, how important those are to patients.
A vision that is shared amongst her staff.
One of our ultimate goals is to change the culture of this hospital to make it a more welcoming, inviting, non-judgmental place.
Back in the outpatient clinic, Annette is checking in with Esther. Now she's been able to get her proper ID and has a lot of success to go along with her new home.
I consider myself, I've changed quite a bit since they've helped me. Big time. I've got clean clothes every day. I've got a bed. I've got a TV. I've got oxygen. I've got everything I need. Everything.
As she wraps up her check-in, she shares her own words of encouragement to those that may be looking to leave a life of addiction and on the streets.
When somebody offers their hand to help you and is willing to go all the way with you, and you have to help yourself too and be willing to change.
Well, it does take us some time, but we do want to set them up for success.
I think the biggest gratitude really is still on them. We're just here open.
A lot of these people who, were otherwise hopeless really find their feet if we do our job right.
Programs like ARCH that are just starting off to give back to our community are in need of funding, volunteers, and help. To learn more about this incredible program, please follow the information on your screen. Thanks so much for joining us.